Hey guys, it's me, Pascal from Orangepixel, and this is the week. We're gonna talk about the whole year in review. How was it for Orangepixel and what's
good?
How and
been a while.
Where have you been all year?
Oh, you know, man. Yeah, COVID. Stay home, stay safe.
But dude, this is home. We work from home
yeah,
for decades. Like literally,
nothing.
we're safe. This is our.
Yeah, it's home.
Anyway, you're coming to help today, right? On the video, it's business. It's talk about your Orangepixel business and everything.
No,
business
I
is kind of your thing. So
we gotta keep safe distance. You know, this might already be too close, so I gotta stay busy somewhere else.
So
I think you got this. You got this.
Okay.
I'm sure. Trust
Right.
me. Right. By the way, love the new desk.
Yeah, it's nice, sweet desk.
Really,
It's thanks for the great desk.
Little bit.
Right. Let's talk about how this year was for everybody, I guess. All right. The last video of the year, 2020 year in review video. A lot of you have been waiting for it. I do this every year. If you haven't checked, check back 12 months, 24 months. This is the third video, third season of the Orangepixel behind the scenes stuff. And 2019 last year was crap, terrible. Just check that video if you want to. It made me decide to do certain things different this year. So I set out some plans and goals. One of those missions I had, or goals I had, was to say yes to good opportunities and more opportunities. If you're a game developer, you have games out there, you'll get contacted by a lot of businesses and companies and weird stuff and people and whatever. Most of those end up in the trash. Sometimes there's a good idea, but or a good opportunity, but those just require a lot of time and investment of time. So in recent years, I said no to everything. I just didn't have time to try all those things. But last year being crap, this year I changed a couple of those things and I said yes to various things. I decided to say yes to every good idea that came along. 2 interesting things spawned from that, maybe 3 actually. So I'll get into those in the video, and of course we'll also talk about the finances. I know some of the game developers are now watching and just want to know, hey, did you make money with your games? So let's just dive into that very quickly. But I urge you to watch the whole video to have context for these numbers, because numbers alone are not very interesting. All right, so I do Orangepixel as full-time. This is my job. Every day I work on my games, full work days, full-time, all the hours of the day. We actually live from my games and Orangepixel, so it's important that my games make money. All right, so how it works for me is the bare minimum I need for a year to survive on in the Netherlands is 30,000 euros. Of course, if you live somewhere else, that number might just be either too low or way too high. But that's what I need over here to pay the bills, to pay food, to pay everything, and make sure we can survive and live from it. Last year was barely 30,000. I just breached it with a couple of thousand. That means we have to dive into the savings account. And you can't do that a couple of years in a row, because then the savings account will be empty. So this year needed to change. So usually my goal is to reach between the 50 and the 60,000. Why 60,000? Why is there a cap? Very simple, tax reasons. Everything above 60,000, it's great to have that money, but it also means I pay more taxes on every euro above or about that amount. So if I'm comfortable between 50 and 60, I'm done for the year. Every game I'm releasing or every discount I have planned will be pushed to the next year, because that just saves me paying taxes. It's that simple. I rather live with some more extra free time and just pay less taxes that way. So why release 10 games if I'm already there with 4 games, for example? And luckily this year we reached between that 50 and 60k euros, and so a good year again. Luckily last year was crap, terrible. Don't remind me about it. I started this year very depressed, but this year ended very well thanks to a couple of things I'll also get into in a bit. So those are the numbers. Let's talk about context and let's talk about the important stuff. games. How many games did I release and how did they perform and all that stuff. That's really my business, games. Alright, so the goals. Last year I made this whole planning and game release goals, 3 to 4 games. Yeah, that was... Alright, I started out pretty well. First game release was Space Grunts 2. Released it in January for February, something like that, on Android. But it was already done in 2019 and released on PC and iOS. So it's a part of a game release. And then I worked on Snake Core, which I released March or April, around that time. Cool game, pretty good game. Short game, short development cycle, interesting game. Did decent numbers, not extremely well. And then I started working on Residual. That's when my whole plan just got messed up, basically. Residual turned into a big game project. I talked about this last week. It wasn't the plan to create a big game, but I wanted to create that game. And honestly, I have been working on it as if it's might be my last game ever. That's what I've been putting into it, all the passion, all the energy. I knew it could have been the last game I was gonna be making if it didn't work out, as it hopefully is gonna work out when I release it next year. Now, I've talked about Residual last week. It had a Kickstarter. It now is a publisher, so Residual is gonna be fine, and that's the reason I've been working on it and pretty much ditched my whole plan of releasing 3 to 4 new games. And new is a little keyword here, because let's rewind back to January. In my plans and my video for this year, I mentioned that I wanted to release games on the Switch. I also mentioned that last year, but it didn't happen. This year, after that video, just I think a week after, or in that same week, I got contacted by a Belgian guy, Friedel, a serious lion in the Discord. He was interested in working with me and trying to port my libgdx Java games over to Monogame for Switch release. We talked a couple of emails back and forth, and we started working together on games, porting games. The first game was Meganoid. I gave him all the source code. He figured it out how to get it on Monogame. Then we figured out how to get dev kits from the Nintendo Switch. And he figured out how to create that game for the Switch. And then I figured out how to get it actually uploaded and releasable and all that stuff on the publishing side. And the game went live in September, I think. It just took a long time, trial and error, but also delaying it because of the summer vacation and stuff like that. So first game went live in September, second Switch game went live in October, third in November, and recently released Heroes of Loot in December. So 4 Switch games released this year on top of Snake Core, and if you want to count it like that, Space Grunts 2 on Android. Pretty much 6 game releases this year. And we're not done with the Switch. Now, Friedel was one of those things that I just mentioned at the beginning. He offered it, he came to me and wanted to work together, and usually I'll hesitate and maybe say no to it, but this time I just jumped into it because that was my goal for this year, say yes to things like that. And I'm very happy with our cooperation. I think he is also pretty happy. Now, I also get a lot of questions on how Switch games are performing, so I'm not sure what I can tell about that, but I'm just gonna tell you some numbers. Okay, so I think if you're in the industry and if you've been following the news, everybody heard the great, awesome numbers, and Switch is perfect for indie games, and it probably was 2, maybe 3 years ago when it just got out and indies could get on it. Right now, I think the average number, sales number, is maybe 200 to 300 copies sold per game on the Switch. Average. Not every game is doing that same amount of number. I talked to various other developers and they confirm that 200 to 400 is pretty common. Those are all developers without marketing and publishing and everything around it. So obviously better games and more marketed games could probably be doing a lot better, I guess. But for most common developers and people like me, 200 to 400 is a good target to go for. The upside, especially for my games who have originally been created for mobile, they're being sold at the PC price range. So that's 8 to 13 euros per game, and that's what they are worth. But on mobile you just can't ask those prices, although I see more games asking those prices currently, so maybe that's going to be a change. But it's a pretty good market and it's a lot of trial and error. And right now we have the first game on discount, Meganoid. In December it went on discount, early December. Not a deep discount. Some games are doing 80 to 90% discounts, and I don't know. It's at 50% discount, and we do see a spike in sales. Now it's a small spike, but it's a spike in sales, and to me that says we can keep doing that for some time now and push all these games into a little sales every now and then, every couple of months, like I'm doing on PC and on mobile. So I think the long tail is going to be interesting. The most important thing for us are dev kits. You have to pay for those, and we actually made that money back on Meganoid, first game release, so both our dev kits were paid for. And a rough calculation is that we are even at the break-even point if you look at the time investment compared to what we should be making on that time. So Switch has been a good thing because we only released 4 games. There are 2 more games coming in January, February, and we're working on the next 2 games. Probably not going to be in March, but April, May, we'll have a bunch of other games. Still got Ashworld, Space Grunts 2, Gunslugs 3. There are still a lot of games we need to port. And we also have an Xbox dev kit ready, and Friedel is actually working on that right now. So we'll be releasing all these games on Xbox as well. And I'm still trying to get in contact with PlayStation to get me approved as game developer or indie developer on PlayStation, which is a little bit harder than the other 2. But hopefully we'll get on there and we'll be releasing all these games also on PlayStation eventually. And all this knowledge will be used for Residual as well. So it's a great adventure so far. Alright, so a little context for the revenue and the game releases. I'm guessing a little over 50% of my revenue this year comes from having my games on sale, all my existing games. Every week I put out a sale on iOS, Android and PC, or almost every week. So there's always a game on sale, and that just triggers sales, mostly on Android, some on PC, less on iOS. I guess iOS people prefer to buy stuff that's premium or just released and not so much things going on sale. Not sure what that is, but on iOS sales are less interesting than on Android and PC. A large part of the sales is, Snake got released this year, so I'm guessing 10% maybe. Not sure, I don't keep track of the exact stats. Smaller portions are the 8k euro for the Kickstarter for Residual. There is some small amount from the publisher, but most of that is coming next year. And a final small portion are the Switch games. Of course, that's all split between me and Friedel, but I think on average we have a little around 1,000 euros per month each. Average, I think, and of course that's going to grow and it will change. Sometimes it'll be less, sometimes it'll be more, but a good extra income revenue stream. So that's pretty much how the numbers stack up this year. Now let's talk about social media and marketing, because money and games are great, but people need to know you're there. So another key thing to my business is social marketing, including these YouTube videos. Let's talk about that and dive into that. All right. Last year and the year before that, I struggled with Instagram and using it to promote myself and my games. This year I figured it out, or at least something that works for me. I grew a little over 100 subscribers. It's not a lot, but it has actually increased, and compared to last year where I maybe grew 20 or 30. It's an improvement. The key thing for me on Instagram is stories. Pretty much like I'm talking to you in these videos. I do some quick stories every now and then when I'm working on stuff, and they remain for 24 hours and are gone after that. So you need to actually be subscribed to me on Instagram to see these stories and see a little behind the scenes stuff and exclusive stuff that you don't get to see in these YouTube videos, because it's usually short and quick and raw. That was a weird way to say it, and raw. But anyway, stories are interesting on the feed, the pictures. I don't post a lot anymore, but I stick to 3 different types, and I've talked about that in recent videos. So Instagram is growing. For YouTube, I set my goal to 7k subscribers, and I'm pretty much there as I'm recording this. So by the time this goes live, I think we reached it or good enough. The thing here is, did I reach that goal? Or was I just very good at estimating and figuring out where we would end at the end of the year based on numbers before that? I don't really know myself. I think it's a bit of both. We reached the 7k, so it's a great increase. More importantly, the views on my videos, and thank you for that. have increased a lot by 3 or 4 times as compared to last year. So that's more important than having subscribers, but of course having subscribers means your videos get around more. So both are interesting. So subscribe to these videos if you're watching them, because there's a lot more interesting stuff coming next year. And finally, Discord. I've been growing Discord pretty well, and I don't think I set that out as goal last year because it wasn't really on my radar. But I really like it now. On Discord you really get to chat and interact with people, game developers, but also gamers. People get to ask me questions about games. Other people get to join in and jump in and give answers, and it's interesting. And Discord is very interesting if you want to build a community. Right now I think it might be the platform to do that on, because it's really good for interaction. So I've been growing Discord, and I'm using it every day, so I'll be there, and hopefully it will keep growing every day as well. Then we had all these bonus goals last year, and well, release on Switch, done that. Grow the newsletter, that actually failed and we lost subscribers, but I did grow the newsletter in the way of how it now looks and works, and it's much better. It's more of a news magazine or a game magazine now. I'm really happy with it, and I'll continue doing that for a while. Schedule discounts better, done that. Almost every week there's a game on discount, and I have pretty much post that on Twitter and Facebook and stuff like that. So I did that very well, and then make good monies compared to last year. Luckily that also happened, so I can still continue working on games this year. Pretty cool. And that brings us to the unplanned stuff, and wow. Like, COVID happened, and I don't think anybody planned for that stuff. Apparently, and judging by the way it's going all over the world, nobody planned for something like that, which blows my mind, but okay. For me personally, not much changed. I've been working from home for like more than a decade. I'm used to it, so I'm very good at antisocial behavior. For my wife, not a lot changed. She has a store, and the store remained open for most of the year until last week. Full lockdown in the Netherlands, so her store is now closed, and she had to shift quickly to having the web shop. By the way, if you're into crafting and paper stuff, she'll appreciate if you check it out, or if you know somebody, wife, girlfriend, mother, grandma, whatever, they might be interesting. We ship all over Europe, and or pretty much all over Europe. So the store is now closed, which is different, but up to this point not much has changed. Besides COVID, there was the iArcade coming in my path. I didn't plan for an arcade device machine which my games will be running on. I really can't wait to show that device, or actually just have it and own it and play my games on it. That happened. The Kickstarter wasn't really planned. It was one of the ideas I had, but wasn't planned, and I did that, and it was interesting. Might do it again. The publisher, obviously that wasn't planned at all. They contacted me through a mutual friend, and unplanned but pretty good. And I think that's all the stuff that I didn't plan for or changed the whole way of the year, especially COVID. Didn't talk much about it on camera, but obviously it's a big thing, and we might remember it. So that's it for this week's video and this year's season. Season 3 is coming to an end right now, and next week we'll start season 4 of the behind the scenes at Orangepixel. I hope you'll tune in for that, because I'll be setting out my plans for the next year. Game releases, plans, goals, ideas, missions. Let's see what 2021 will bring us. So if you like the video, thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, comment below. And if you have questions or whatever, either comment below or jump on the Discord, and we'll talk about it. All right. I think this is gonna be a long video. I'll start editing it now, and yeah. Good talk. We should do this more often. See you next year or next week for a normal talk. Bye. Judging by the way it's going, nobody planned for COVID, and if we ever get a zombie outbreak, we're pretty much all screwed, because wow.